Hey guys, it was my birthday on the 17th, and I thought it was kind of cool if I could share a little bit of a background story on who I am and how I got here. On the 17th of August 1991, I was born to the best parents in the world, and I was born in Kuwait to five older siblings. And I ended up living there 5 months, so I don't remember anything at all. But I like to think that being born in Kuwait was a sign because Kuwait right now is one of the best interior design capitals in the world. We had to move to Syria for multiple reasons. I don't remember much except having a human-sized hamster wheel in our playground in the coolest school that I've ever went to. I remember wanting an office and turning one of our library shelves into my very own, which everyone got a kick out of. And I do remember my dad traveling to the United Arab Emirates and getting employed there, and I missed him so much. But fortunately, that meant I could sleep next to my mom and get super spoiled by everyone, so everything worked out. 2.5 years later, our entire family would move to the UAE, and we were reunited again. I had peace of mind again as a kid, and I remember watching cartoons most of the time while drawing comics and anime characters. Not too long later, both of my sisters, they got engaged and got married. I felt pretty left out. My parents observed the situation and they decided it would be best if they got me to learn something new. This is when they brought me my very first computer. It was one of those bulky ones, and it was a second-hand computer, but I'm so grateful for them because I did have a lot of time as a kid and I learned Photoshop, and this particular skill stayed with me until now. I love technology so much and decided that when I would grow older, I would become a computer engineer. I was pretty determined about that. During that period of my life, things got interesting. Now, this is something that most of you people will frown upon, but when I was 14, I got into a relationship with one of my relatives. It was an arranged marriage kind of situation and a long distance, and he was in the States. Couldn't speak much English myself, so he did teach me a lot of English, I guess. It was the very first relationship in my life, and we did start out as friends and then things developed romantically. Now, this happened when I was still in school. I graduated and I was going after what I've always wanted, computer engineering as a major. However, 1 week prior to starting my semester, I watched a YouTube video. It was a dorm room tour from this girl. Her name was Khalil, I think, and her handle was Queen Beauty, and she was an interior design major student. When I saw her room, I could relate so much, and everything in my head changed. I saw her sketchbooks, pencils, textbooks, colors, and most importantly, I loved everything on her desk. And I realized how better fitting is interior design for me. Luckily, my parents were super supportive and they were very much open-minded. And the dean was a cool, understanding guy who accepted me transferring to the architecture and interior design college last minute. Best decision I've ever made. 1 year after enrolling, I had to stop my education because I was doing my visa process because I was gonna get married. And I was packing my things to move to the States. However, we were both very young and we had a pretty bad breakup. It was on my birthday and it was on 2011. I'm glad I took that year off because even though I saw my peers and they were moving forward, I actually spent the year in the gym. And I had a pretty great time. My dad enrolled me back the next year, where I met one of my best friends and a lot of other people whom I love so much. I was a straight A student. I've always loved the look on my parents' face when I got a GPA of a 4.0. I'm grateful to have been educated from pretty awesome people. And I'm especially grateful to Mr. Tahir. He was the one to push me to do sustainability summer school, where I met my now husband. We bonded over the fact that we both scored a 4.0 that semester. It was awesome, but he was kind of cocky, but I still love him anyway. That same sustainability summer school also got me into an all expenses paid trip from my university to South Korea, where we would be learning about even more about sustainability. Later on, me and Ali, we got engaged. My husband is Ali, by the way. Which was really difficult, by the way, but that's a very long story for another time. I have graduated and landed my first job that time, which was a 2 hours drive going and another 2 hours coming back. It was really exhausting and it was unfulfilling to what I needed. So I quit my first job 4 months later, and right around that time, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. It was stage 4, it was incurable. and she did need surgery. So there was a lot of layers to this story, which I guess I'll be making another video about later on. It's a really hard story to tell. So there was a lot of hardships during that time. I got another job as a teaching assistant in the same university that I studied in, and I have learned that I love teaching and I did love designing too. One of my closest friends had the idea to start a furniture and accessories line, and she did hire me as a project manager. So we did have a blast designing, looking at materials, and going into big exhibitions. Later on, I got married, and things were still not good when it came to my mom's health. It made us appreciate her and value her even more than we ever did. I stayed at home for 3 months and I wasn't employed back then. However, I did dream about getting hired in IKEA as an interior designer since I was little, to be honest. Me and my best friend, we shared that dream, and we went and handed out our CVs. And 3 days later, we got a call for an interview, and I got hired 1 month later. Now, my experience in IKEA was pretty tainted, as my personal life wasn't great at that point of time. I remember my first month, and I would be going to my lunch break to see my mom, who was in a controlled coma in the hospital. And my mom did get out of the hospital, but my dad fractured a bone and he got admitted to the hospital, where he did pass away a couple months later. You can only imagine how emotional that timing was, and I did try my best to keep up with the stress I had at work. IKEA does have a great community, but the job is incredibly stressful in physical, mental, and emotional ways. My mother passed away a year later from when my dad passed away, after a very long battle with cancer. I came back to work completely broken and devastated. And I got introduced to my life coach, who made me understand how I was feeling, and she helped me get out of my depression. And I'm so grateful to have had the chance to talk to her. And I'm grateful to my manager who did introduce her to me. I remember trying to get myself to feel better and devouring a lot of food because it was the easiest way to cope with so much happening. I had to do what I had to do. And I haven't been in this situation ever before, so to be honest, I don't judge myself for these kind of decisions either. I also coped by overworking myself. My schedule went something like that. I would go to work at 7:30 a.m., go back home at 6 p.m., sleep at 7 p.m., wake up at 2 a.m., and work on another project in interior design because this was really fulfilling and it was my happy place. I remember getting my car on December last year and then going on a trip to Paris with my husband. But I was still very miserable because I had to go back to my job, and I did realize that. So not too long later, I handed out my 1 month notice after a lot of drama happening, and I resigned from IKEA. Although I felt really sad to have left amazing coworkers, I had to do it to feel a little bit better. This is where I am right now. I'm trying to start my own interior design business, and I'm still a beginner at this and at YouTube, to be honest, but I'm trying to give back to YouTube because had I not watched that video, I don't know how my life would have been different. And I'm super glad to be in this position that I'm in right now. No matter what you're passing through in your life, take that experience and embrace it, and then try to channel it towards something better. Try to channel it towards something bigger than you, and you will feel better no matter what it is that you're passing through. Unfortunately, with all of the hardships that we go through in life, life does go on and we have to move on. Otherwise, we'd be just sad creatures sitting in our rooms and crying all the time, which is sometimes how I feel, but I do let myself feel that way when I need to. But right now, I can say that I'm pretty happy with what I'm doing. I love doing YouTube, and I love that I'm working as well as an interior designer. I don't know where the future will take me, but I am grateful and I'm looking forward for the future. So yeah, that was my story. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too long for you. Let me know down below if you need any help, if you have passed through something that changed your life. I would love to know about it. If you want to know any part of the story in particular, I can make another video about it. I'm not sure that it will relate to my niche, but yeah, bring them on. I love you guys to the stars and back, and have a great time of the day wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.